you have to open your heart, number one, to question some of your biases, identify and question some of your biases. Because if you think you're not racist, because you've not encountered maybe a black person or an Indian person or someone in a situation where maybe you got angry and what you really think came out, that doesn't mean you don't have those racist intents. So I really want you to challenge you at home when you're not in the situation to really think about it. What do I think about people who are different? What do I really feel? And when you do that, you then start understanding what you do deal with. Then you can reach out with an open heart and honesty to the people who are different. Invite them to your house. Don't just meet people in the pub. If you really want to know people, invite them for lunch. So if you know a lot of Asians or Africans and you've known them for 10, 15 years and they never come to your house for lunch or anything or barbecue, and you claim you want to know more and you want to understand, you probably need to, that's your starting point there.
You know, the systemic perspective of when the gender pay gap stuff happened and when we kind of realized there's an issue there systemically with women progressing into higher roles and earning the same salaries and everything else, what every organization has committed to doing and is doing, well, has to do, is that systemic review of their policies and procedures to ensure that there's nothing there preventing women from being able to progress. Say, for example, you know, childcare and different things like that. So working flexibly is now, you know, a norm in the workplace as a result to make sure that, you know, I can meet my target. I just need to meet it at maybe not the same time hours, you know, during the same hours as my male counterpart. The same thing applies here. I think the EU actually passed a resolution last year on Afrophobia in the EU, and every member state now has to take some sort of action to, first of all, acknowledge that Afrophobia exists and try to address it. And so it's not, again, not African-centric, but this should be done across the board for the non-protected classes that are there. It's like, where do you start? I'm like, there's literally like, you know, a law there that like gives you your starting point and going, you know, we say we're diverse and we're inclusive. Is it actually, first of all, is it accessible for people in those classes to get into our organization? How easy is it for them in comparison to other people to progress and, you know, to be treated equally in our organizations? Okay, let's look at our leadership team and our board. Is the diversity box we ticked only gender? Why did we do that? You know, again, challenging those thought processes of, we thought this was okay, but it's actually not. So I'm really, I would say, really encouraging people to do that work where possible with their organizations, or encourage their organizations to do it, or if they run an organization, do it with the organization they run. They're just reviewing and ensuring it is truly inclusive.
Inaction is complicity as well, right? Like, even if you're not educated, and like, just, I think somebody else said it earlier, I think it was Denver, but like, putting the pressure on your black friends to educate you is putting more pressure on them at a time when shit's already kind of hard. So like, do your own research. And also, like, if you encounter something or you see something or hear something, like, not pulling people up on it, lets that spread and lets that person think that it was okay to say it. Calling them out lets them know and lets everybody else around them know that it's not okay to say. And like, if you don't know what's right and what's wrong in terms of things that should and shouldn't be said, then I think you have bigger problems to deal with. But yeah, I think like you can't be an ally and keep your mouth shut. You need to, when we're not around, we can't be everywhere. Black people can't be everywhere. And when we are, like, it gets exhausting to have to be the one that is like bringing it up and calling people out. Yeah, be proactive.
I think key thing here is I think diversity and inclusion needs to be ramped up in Ireland. I think people need to ask the questions, people need to question. Asking questions and questioning is not wrong. The way you ask it or the way you go about trying to figure out that information, I think is where the problem is. overall, I think I look forward to more cultures. The Brazilian culture coming into Ireland, the Venezuelan culture is quite prominent and it's coming in now. I hope with more people coming over, especially with the tech companies, we will see diversity and inclusion coming through on a more holistic approach than just through this procedural and policy driven aspect in a company environment. So I think just overall, I think people need to ask the questions. Companies need to do their bit. Let's see where it goes from there.
You know, I think all of you have kind of touched on this notion of like, we have to educate ourselves. We have to understand the reality of the world that we live in and what's really going on. One place that can really be a great place for white people to start understanding this a little bit about their own whiteness and how they've gotten to where they're at is a podcast series on Seen on Radio called Seeing White. There's also a new Instagram feed that one of you pointed out to me the other day called Black and Irish, which has a whole bunch of stories from people who fit the bill. They're Black and they're Irish, and we all just better get used to it because they're part of what makes this country amazing. And after that, once you've maybe educated yourself a little bit, like trying to put some of this stuff into action, a couple of recommendations that we might throw out there, a book by a gentleman named Ibram Kendi called How to Be an Anti-Racist. And there's a woman named Kim Creighton in the US as well, who's running a series of webinars on how to be an anti-racist at home and work. We attended one of those for our anniversary. It was a hell of a way to spend our 22nd anniversary, but it was great. And the thing that really stuck out to me, I guess, sitting through that was there was a lot of stuff that wasn't new to me, but it dawned on me that it wasn't new to me because I took African American studies as like my degree program in university. So it was something that I actively sought out to learn the history of my own country. It shouldn't be something that people have to do. So I think the more that, you know, we start to bake that kind of stuff into how we educate people, the better.